This is Analytical Media, and today we're going to talk about a common question that is asked of us. In gang stalking, people believe that they're being persecuted, that they are being targeted by other individuals. There are people who feel this way in California, Minnesota, England, Africa, South America. Isn't that proof that it's real? That's the question. Now, you know our position on gang stalking. We believe that it should be thoroughly investigated. Anyone feeling that they are a victim of gang stalking should be treated as if they really are a victim of gang stalking, because they might be. People claiming to be victims of gang stalking legitimately might be victims of gang stalking. However, not everyone complaining of being a victim of gang stalking is really a victim of gang stalking. So if you complain about it, if you think it's happening to you, and you're reporting it, it really may be happening to you. But not everyone who complains of it and reports it is a victim. Some of those people are simply delusional. They are suffering from delusions of persecution and paranoia. One of the hallmark characteristics of schizophrenia is the common delusion of persecution. I think we can explain that too. There is no official explanation, but in our group we have an opinion as to why that occurs. Why, with schizophrenia, the delusion of persecution and paranoia occurs. That same delusion, persecution, paranoia, common to schizophrenia, it's rare to find a case where that is not true, a case of schizophrenia, where the existence of paranoid delusions does not occur. It's hard to find one. It almost always is there. And always, in gang stalking, we have the same delusion or the same paranoia. Could be a delusion, it could be real. I mean, you could be a victim of gang stalking, or you could be a victim of the delusion of paranoia, which is the other words for the other term for gang stalking. You hear voices, you don't feel well, you believe people are spying on you, you see people following you around, you hear people talking about you when you're standing in line at the bank, or even when you're in the house and you look out and people are walking by the house, you can hear them talking, saying what they're going to do to you and how they're going to hurt you. Now, is this gang stalking, or is it schizophrenia, or is it simply the delusion of persecution? Are you really being persecuted? When you hear somebody talking about you, you know somebody's been in your house moving things around because they're not where they used to be. Isn't that proof? When you see a red car every 5 minutes when you're out driving, doesn't that prove you're being gang stalked? And the answer is no, it does not, because it could simply be the delusion of persecution, supported by the illusions of voices you hear in your head, conversations you think occur. When you lose grasp of reality, it's a very frightening thing, and you're looking for what could be causing it. And probably the last thing you're going to believe is causing it is a delusion, mental illness. So, no, I'm not mentally ill. You've never been mentally ill. You pay your bills, you go everywhere. You're not having delusions. You'd know if you were having delusions, wouldn't you? No, you would not know if you were having delusions. You can only use logic and reason to point that out for you, whether you're having delusions. Hallucinating a voice in your head is exactly the same as hearing a voice in your head spoken by somebody you can't see. It's a real voice in your head, or it's complete delusion. Seeing a red car every 5 minutes when you're out, or sometimes a white car or a black car. Some TIs say When I'm out, I see a black car and a white car and a black car and a white car. And I can't be out there for 30 seconds with traffic going by that I don't see a white car. That white car could become a red car or a blue car, but about half of all cars are going to be white or black, almost half. So no, that's not proof. If you hear a voice and you can tape record it, you can make a recording of it, it's real. If you can't make a recording of it, it's almost certainly not real. And I say almost because there could be some advanced alien technology to be heard, but not recorded. Some new advanced technology that we don't have yet. Nothing is beyond that state. We don't know what we don't know. But almost everything will be covered by what we know about auditory recordings. Almost everything. We allow for that little bit of maybe something else. But we know that sound waves impinge on our eardrum, and that's how we hear things. Well, it's the same sound waves that impinge on the diaphragm of a microphone that allows us to record things. So if you hear it, you should be able to record it. And if you can't record it, it's probably, most likely, almost certainly, but not certainly, almost certainly a hallucination if you can't record it. Now you need a reason for these hallucinations, right? Like if you're saying, I hear these voices and I see these cars and I feel people coming after me and I can see people, almost see people behind the trees outside. Well, what's that proof of? Well, it's proof that you really are a victim of gang stalking, or it's proof that you're delusional. Is there somebody behind that tree? Is that a real voice speaking to you? That's something you have to determine. And you have to determine it with evidence. A photograph. The person behind the tree and the people out in the yard, are they getting picked up on your security cameras? Are they being recorded? The voices you hear, are they being recorded? The people outside, are they leaving DNA on the trees? Or in your home somewhere? Gang stalking victims can be of any socioeconomic class. They can be really poor or they could be billionaires. Just as schizophrenia could occur to someone with no money, a homeless person, or it could occur to a billionaire, or in history it has certainly occurred to many millionaires. Many millionaires have been schizophrenic. You have to allow for the fact that you could be wrong. You have to allow for that. Don't say, well, I couldn't be wrong. I'm never wrong. Yeah, you are. You want some proof? You believe in something that you find out later on is not real? How about Santa Claus? Did you believe in that? Well, you believed in Santa Claus with your whole heart. Now you don't. Why? How about the Easter Bunny? How about the Tooth Fairy? You believed it. You were easily fooled. Probably until somebody broke your heart and told you the truth, or you found it out on your own by accident. You could be wrong. Remember that. Your perceptions can all be wrong. They can all be false. You have to accept that. Then you can get to the bottom of, is it real or not? If it's real, it's not false. And it could be real, and we allow for that. We certainly allow for that. We believe it could be. Everything needs to be investigated. Are you a victim of gang stalking? You think you are. Well, now we need evidence. Because nobody's going to believe you. Not law enforcement. No one. Not your mother. Not your brother. They want evidence. They all want evidence. Let's look at delusions of persecution and paranoia. There also is a paranoid personality disorder. Now, all of these things share these qualities. There's a pervasive pattern of distrust and suspiciousness of others. And invariably, it leads to some type of disruption in their interacting with other people. It's noticeable. Something's changed. They don't act the way they used to act. They don't have the same relationships they used to have. They're changing. And that's because they suspect everyone. Normally, this begins in early adulthood and comes with depression and anxiety disorders of various kinds. It doesn't happen with kids. And that's true with gang stalking too. We don't see many 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds believing they're being gang stalked. However, 2022, you start to see it, just like you do delusions of persecution and paranoia. Some people with these delusions will develop schizophrenia, but not everyone. People with these delusions of paranoia or persecution will suspect other people, their co-workers, their brother, family members, their friends. They'll suspect without any evidence, which we call sufficient basis, without sufficient basis, that the people around them are exploiting them or deceiving them. And that leads to the individual, the one who has this delusion, it leads to them becoming very preoccupied with worries and doubts about the loyalty or trustworthiness of their family or their friends or their co-workers. They also become very secretive. They hold things in a way they never did before because they believe that what they say could be used maliciously against them. So you got to be careful what they say to people, to their mother, to their father, to the guy at work, to the neighbor. If they're married, they oftentimes have unjustified suspicions about the fidelity of their spouse or sexual partner. Were you talking to him? Why did you take so long at the store? That type of thing. They also become impulsive and aggressive. They bear grudges. They become very defensive when they're talking to other people. Why do you want to know that? Why are you asking me that? In just common everyday conversations. And these delusions are one of the strongest predictors of violence or aggressive behavior. And they are associated with violence and stalking and excessive litigation. Now, here are the qualities necessary in a DSM-5 to be diagnosed with paranoid personality disorder or PPD. You have to have 4 of these to get what I'm about to read you, or more. You have to have at least 4 of these things to get diagnosed with PPD. Suspects without sufficient basis that others are exploiting, harming, or deceiving them. That's 1. 2, is preoccupied with unjustified doubts about the loyalty or trustworthiness of friends or associates. 3, is reluctant to confide in others because of unwarranted fear that the information will be used against them. Reads hidden demeaning or threatening meaning into benign remarks or events. Bears grudges persistently, being unforgiving of insults, injuries, or slights. Perceives attacks on their character or reputation that are not apparent to others and quickly reacts with anger or with a counterattack. Has recurrent suspicions without justification regarding the fidelity of their spouse or sexual partner. Does not occur exclusively during the course of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depressive disorder with psychotic features, or another psychotic disorder, and is not attributable to the physiological effects of another medical condition. So what we're saying is, if you got something else going on, something else we know about, that's psychological, psychiatric disorder, etc. Or something physical. It's a physical effect from some other medication. Well, then you're out. You're not in the PPD group. But if it's not attributable to something else, then 4 of the things I read you don't need them all, just 4, it counts. You got it. Now, in schizophrenia, this delusion is persecutory paranoid delusion. These beliefs are held, in other words, they're believed in strongly despite evidence to the contrary. Lots of evidence, strong evidence, and you still think it's a lie, you're being conned, you're being cheated. Tons of evidence to the contrary. Like you might believe that you killed your mother, and even though your mother comes to visit you at the hospital, you believe you killed your mother. And how do you explain the person coming to see you? It's special effects. It's the Matrix. So with strong evidence to the contrary, you can't convince them that they're wrong. Individuals believe they're being watched, harmed, or plotted against. Sounds like TI, doesn't it? Other frequent types include delusions of grandeur, reference control, and somatic issues, physical issues, which are often accompanied by hallucinations. Schizophrenia, the most common delusion by far is persecutory, paranoid delusions. Then we have delusions of reference, the belief that insignificant remarks, events, or objects in the environment have a personal meaning or message intended for them. I'll tell you what, I'll make you another video and tell you about a schizophrenic client who believed that her boyfriend wouldn't leave her alone, wouldn't let her go. The truth was just the opposite. And that he had bought a whole school bus line and some radio stations that she'd listen to on the way to work. Those are delusions of reference. Sometime if you remind me or you want to hear the story, I'll definitely tell you about it. They'll believe that the guy on the news is making a message, sending a message directly to them. He's not telling you about a traffic jam. He's telling you that you better watch out. There are a lot of people coming after you. Grandiose delusions, an inflated sense of self-importance, power, knowledge, or identity, believing that someone is a historical figure or a deity or has supernatural powers. Delusions of control, the belief that one's thoughts, feelings, or actions are being controlled by an outside force, or that thoughts are being inserted into or withdrawing from their head. Delusions of control. Somatic delusions, S-O-M-A-T-I-C, somatic delusions. A fixation that something is physically wrong with their body, such as having a parasitic infection, a missing organ, somebody stole their liver, or that their body is emitting a foul odor, or that they have needles that are going through their veins and are going to go to their heart and kill them. Somatic delusions. Recurrent trips to the dentist for pain that doesn't exist, to a doctor until finally the doctor will run no more tests on them. Physical delusions, soma. Religious delusions, belief that they have a special relationship with God or are a prophet, or they are interacting with spirits. Erotomanic delusions. It's a belief that usually a famous celebrity or stranger is deeply in love with them. And you know how those stories end up, right? Bizarre delusions, beliefs that are commonly implausible and not derived from ordinary life experience, such as believing a neighbor has stolen their internal organs without having left a scar, or that the neighbor is slowly taking over the minds of his wife and his children, changing them one by one from a distance with some strange ray thing that you see him flashing when he's out at night walking his dog. Completely implausible. Couldn't be true. Nobody would believe it, but they believe it. All these delusions occur to individuals around the world, not because any of these delusions are real. No, they occur to these people because they have schizophrenia. These delusions are a sign of mental illness, not the sign of crazy neighbors or implausible things. And gang stalking victims, TIs, they have very similar things going on, don't they? They have somatic delusions. They think some ray is coming in, some special weapon is hurting them, and that's a schizophrenic delusion. Now, it doesn't mean it isn't real. It could be real, but we got to have some evidence, some proof. And as I said, you could be a millionaire. You could be very wealthy and have these be TI. And that's fine. But if you have all that money, you can record these things. You can hire PIs. Lots of people. All kinds of cameras, all kinds of recording equipment. Special people who specialize in things of this sort. You can hire them. And you can prove, you can gain the evidence you need to be proven a TI. And people who are regular people go to work every day, or most days, or have for a long time. Maybe they don't have all that much money. You might have enough to get some equipment, but they could band together. On the internet, you know there are all kinds of groups of people talking to each other, convincing each other that they're TIs. They all think they're TIs. Well, they could get together, pool their money together, and hire some investigators. But the most important thing to realize is nobody is going to believe you without evidence. And you have to allow for the fact that what you see and feel and hear and taste might be a hallucination. Because since the beginning of time, we've recognized that. Since the beginning of recorded history, we've recognized that some people see things that other people don't see, hear things that aren't there, believe things that aren't real. We know that. Now, we studied it in science, and we've come up with names for PPD, paranoid personality delusion, schizophrenia, and any type of psychosis, because any type of psychosis can have delusions, any type. So the fact that people all over the world are hearing voices, feeling things that aren't real, is this proof of gang stalking? No. It could be proof, though, of schizophrenia or some psychosis. The proof is not the symptoms. It's the cause of the symptoms. That's going to be the proof. You need to gather evidence. Having said all that, should a police officer or a court official come to the conclusion that anyone claiming to be a TI is not a TI, but is delusional? No, you should not do that. You should do your best to check their claims. Dig in there. Look for the evidence. It doesn't have to take a long time, but treat it as a serious thing. Don't treat it as a mental illness, as a delusional individual that you should pat on the back and tell go home and get some rest. Don't do that. This is Analytical Media. We're a group of therapists, college professors, and well-published, peer-reviewed authors. Subscribe, help us send a message out to more people. If this helped you at all, if you found it interesting, other people will too. But the algorithm for YouTube demands that you share it, you subscribe before it's going to send it out to other people. Our purpose is to help other people. Hopefully, you'll feel the same way. We hope everything's gone well for you. We hope everything's good for you. And until we meet again in the next video, please take care.